Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ayana and you're hanging out with the Potted Couple. Today we're going to do a review of Ecuagenera, another plant shop that I like to order from. So if you want to hear about my thoughts and if I do recommend Ecuagenera, stick around. So I'm going to have the same breakdown as I did when I reviewed green spaces, just so we can keep things kind of structured, and I will try not to miss anything. If you've ever ordered from Ecuagenera or seen any other reviews, Ecuagenera has two sites, and most of it, well, before all of the quarantining happened, you could go to a flower shop. That's how the flower shop. That's how they started. You could they would have their aeroids, and you can go to the plant show, and I think their plant shows are kind of all over the world, but probably mostly in Florida, since that's where their second location is. So that was where a lot of people could place orders, or they could go to directly to the nursery and pick up their plants. However, what I did was I ordered a couple plants from the Ecuagenera site, and I ordered a couple from the US site. First, I want to talk about just the basics of the sites. So number one is their website design and selection of plants. Ecuagenera has a huge selection of plants. They just have, you can go look at orchids, you can go look at aeroids, and you can filter it so that you can just look at aeroids if you're interested in aeroids, or orchids if you're interested in orchids. I'm interested in aeroids, so that's what I looked at. I also like that you can filter between monsteras, philodendron, or anthurium. It makes looking for your plants a lot easier. I will say that if you're on the Ecuagenera site, they have a whole range of plants. I believe, just because I've been on there so often, that their aeroid pages is 6 pages long, with about 3 pages of philodendrons, 3 of anthuriums, and like 1 page of monsteras. I know, I'm a nerd. But that's how often I've been on their site. Now, if you go into the US site, they don't have as many aeroids, but they still have a few. But either way, they have a great selection of plants. Now, if you're on the Ecuador site, they're constantly uploading and restocking plants. You could go on there 3 times throughout the day, and they would have a different selection every time you went on there. I know from personal experience, from when I was going crazy buying up plants, I would check multiple times a day, and every time I checked, they had another plant that I wanted. Now, if you're on the USA site, they don't upload as often, and it's not as big a variety. However, I noticed that the plants on the US site, they're still good. And since it's from the US site and they come from Florida, the shipping is not as far. So if you're a little nervous about having it shipped from Ecuador, maybe check out the US site. Both of these pages are easy to navigate, easy to filter, and that's what I love the most. You can easily add the plants to cart. However, if you are not fast enough, these plants will be snatched out of your cart. This has happened to me so often, I just cannot even tell you. Not only that, if they're uploading plants that a lot of people like, it will shut down the server, and this has happened to me about 3 times. And this was when they uploaded, I think it was the anthurium, the queen anthurium, the monstera pina partita, and another plant that I can't remember. But if you're not fast enough, by the time you get on the website, it could be shut down due to how many people are trying to buy these plants, and then by the time you go to purchase it, it's gone from your cart. So you do have to kind of be fast. It does help that if you can create an account, so that way it can take out some of the the time and the steps that you have to do to get that plant in your possession. But like I said, they're always adding plants. If you miss it one time, it's more than likely that it'll be back up there again. And this makes the restocks really random. Now you can sign up for the notification, which I like to have because it's just helpful to know. That way you're not always having to check. Unlike green spaces, you can't sign up for notification. However, what I noticed for Ecuagenera is that their notifications are delayed. By the time I receive the notification, like I said, the server is just destroyed because so many people are on there trying to get that plant. So it's just better for me that I just check periodically rather than wait for the notification. Sometimes I didn't even receive a notification and the plant was restocked. So, I mean, so the notifications aren't always there. You can also see your past purchases if you do go ahead and create the account. This is also helpful just so you can keep tabs of everything. So that way you keep track of all your purchases and your spending. Next, I want to talk about the price and the payment options. Ecuagenera takes PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa. Always tend to pay through PayPal for these kinds of things, just in case something happens. It's easy just to, if you can't come to agreement with the seller, then you can go through PayPal. I did have one occurrence where I had accidentally purchased the plant and it said for me to pick it up in Florida. I live in Delaware. There's no way I could go to Florida and pick up the plant. So I emailed them, and you can email them directly from the email that they send to you confirming the purchase. So I just replied to that, and I was able to get refunded. So their customer service is pretty good for them to be, so busy and to be overseas. So I think they're pretty timely. As well as I feel like these plants are more affordable than what you would get in the US. They're definitely more affordable. I find that if you order from the Ecuagenera site and they have that same plant on the US site, that plant is $10 to $15 cheaper than it is on the US site. However, you would have to kind of trade off for other things, which I can discuss in later points. The customer service / social media, I feel like is pretty good for overseas. Like I said, you can respond directly to the notifications and emails, and they'll get back to you. They do post on Instagram. That way you can keep up with their restocks. That's another helpful way if you're not always on the website. And I find it to be more accurate than, say, like Green Spaces, who would post pictures and then I would go to a website and it would say it was sold out. You can review your experience on our website. I have yet to try this because I couldn't really figure out how to do it, so I'm not sure about that. But you can always go on YouTube and look up other reviews of people's experience. A lot of people have said their experiences are hit and miss, which it can be, and I do have some examples of plants that have come in good condition and other plants that are okay. However, you have to take into consideration the time that you order these plants and the environment. So I do have a couple here to show you. This was my Squammy petiolatum, and I did order this plant. I want to say it was in June I ordered this plant. So this wasn't the greatest idea for me to order this plant in June, because as you can see, it suffered a lot of heat damage. Now, if you order plants overseas, a lot of the time you don't get the plant until the month after. So I placed the order in June, but I didn't receive this plant until July. July is a really hot month to order plants, but I just went ahead and I did it anyway, just because I wanted the plant, and I wasn't being very mindful or very patient, and this was the result. So what I did when this plant came in is I cut off all the dry roots and I put it in water, and you can see that it is sprouting new growth. So if your plant doesn't come in the best condition, a lot of times they are able to be rehabbed. And so I haven't had a lot of experience where I've had a plant come from Ecuagenera and I wasn't able to save it. But like I said before in my other videos, if you're able to rehab plants, that'll help your experience so much better, because their plants are not always going to come in good conditions, especially if you order them in conditions that are not good while they're traveling, because they're already stressed due to the travel. I have another plant that I ordered from Ecuagenera. This was the Anthurium forgetii. It had minimal shipping damage, just a little here. And you can see that this is the new leaf that it's putting out, and it hasn't fully hardened, but you see that you can have different experiences and different, results when you order plants. I do notice that Anthuriums tend to be pretty good for me, and Monsteras are really good for me. Here's another example. This is the Monstera subpinnata. I ordered this from the US site. However, due to what's going on in our country right now, this plant took 10 days to get to me, and while it did suffer some damage, it was very minimal. And especially with how hot it's been, I was very surprised that it didn't suffer as much damage as I thought. But Monsteras do tend to be really hardy plants, so I kind of wasn't as worried about this one as some other ones. And then I could even show you that these two stalks here are the new growth. So like I said, you could have different results, but I tend to see that my plants do bounce back. Another one that I got from the Ecuagenera site is the El Chaco Red. This plant might not look well to you guys. It did have two leaves. One was completely brown when I received it, and then the other one was like half green, half yellow, which I knew I was going to lose that leaf, so I just cut it off. And the week that I got this plant, it was in the mid-90s, so I knew that this plant was going to have a hard time. However, I cut off all the bad roots, and you can see that it is growing new roots. There's a little one, as well as in these little white areas. You can see it right there at the bottom. It has a new growth, and here as well. So I'm not sure if I want to cut this plant, but like I said, you can always try to rehab these plants, and I think it's worth the price. I mean, honestly, this plant was $65 compared to what I would pay here in the US. I think some of them are going for 300 plus. So I'd rather pay less and just, put a little bit more care into it than paying full price, but that's just me. I'm not sure if there's any guarantees or any refunds. I haven't seen anything on their website, and I didn't have any instances where I needed to get a refund, so I'm not really sure about that. Their shipping. So if you're ordering from the Ecuagenera, the Ecuador site, their shipping is $19, and there's a 4% transaction fee. If you're ordering from the US store, their shipping is about $8.76. They both use the USPS, so if you do order from them, take into account the current delays that we're having through our mailing system, and then just have that in the back of your mind when you receive your plant. The packaging is different for these plants. If you're ordering from Ecuagenera, the plants are typically, the roots are wrapped in sphagnum and then put inside like a plastic bag, and then wrapped in like a brown paper and then taped, and then just put in the box. Whereas, and it has like some newspaper, newspaper filling. Whereas if you order from the US site, typically the plants come potted in whatever kind of soil medium. I noticed it's different for certain plants. Some will just be in soil, and some will be in like a perlite orchid bark mix, but they tend to be potted and then like wrapped in paper. So I do notice that there's two different packing methods depending on what site you order from. So what I would say overall for this site and this company is that I will definitely order from them again. There's a couple plants that I do want to get my hands on. You just have to just go on there periodically and see if that plant is in stock. I did have 2 plants the other day that came in stock, but by the time I went on there, the server had crashed and I wasn't able to get those plants. And it was probably, a sign from somebody above telling me that I didn't need to order any plants, but that's what happened. They have a huge selection and a variety of plants. You can get everything from syngoniums to Dieffenbachia to anthuriums and philodendrons to monsteras, and even get aglaonemas and things like that, and it's just a nice selection. They're constantly restocking, and it's just great because sometimes you're always waiting for a shop to restock the plant, and you just, by the time they restock it, you just forget about it. It can be hit and miss depending on when you order in the year during the season. I always recommend that you order, but I don't always follow my own advice, but I recommend that you order in the spring or in the fall. So like, just keep in mind if it comes in a month after. So I wouldn't suggest March. Well, March we had it was kind of a cold March, and it was kind of a cold April. But if you wanted to, you could place your order in April. That way you could receive it in May, and that would be a perfect time. Or if you wanted to, you could place your order in September and receive it in October. And then your plants should have a better survival rate, and they should be less stressed. The size of the plant and roots can vary. I've noticed that, some people's plants are bigger than others. However, as long as the roots are good on that plant, or you can grow new roots, your plants will be good. Like I said, try not to order in extreme temperatures, hot or cold. I always recommend not to order above 90 or below 50, 55 really. The service is pretty good. I will say they were good at processing my refund. They were good at, I had a period of time where I had ordered like 8 plants, and I ordered them all separately, and I had emailed one of their customer service and asked them if they combine orders and refund the extra shipping, and they were banging out my refund requests that they were able to process, and I was really happy about that. And then if you can, or if you're able to, if you're scared, you can always order from the US site. The plants do come sooner. They usually come within a week or so. The shipping is cheaper, and then they do have a good survival rate. But I will say that the Ecuador site always has the best variety. So if you like this video, let me know. Comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have ordered from Ecuagenera and what your experience was when you placed your order and what you received. Just let me know. I love talking about these kinds of things. I just think it's fun. I love talking to you guys in the comments. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.